The Dodgers have done a lot of work this offseason to try to build a super team, but on paper, they're not all that different from the Braves. In fact, the Braves may have the slight edge. We're going to break it all down on today's episode. And plus, on this Minors Monday episode, I'm going to give you the names of some unknown Braves prospects who have a chance to break out in 2024. We'll discuss all that on today's Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. Got a lot to talk about with Atlanta sports today over there on the Falcons side of things, but over here with the Braves, we got plenty to discuss as well. As always, I'm your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Make sure you check out my written work over at BravesToday.com. Make sure you follow the podcast on social media at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback you have for the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button as well to help support the show. If you're listening on the audio version, if you would, please leave me a 5-star review. All the help that you can give me here at Locked On Braves, I do truly, truly appreciate it. We've got a great community here of listeners, and I do thank each and every one of you being in every day, commenting in the comments section, hitting that like button. Everything really helps the show, and I appreciate it a ton. We do a lot of these episodes in the offseason live. I see Chris Fields in here, Lady Braves, Madame Battle Axe, DJ in here as well, Jeffrey Humphreys. So thank you all for joining the show live, whether you're watching live or the replay. Again, thank you so much for your support at Locked On Braves. Today's podcast, we are going to look at the Dodgers and the Braves on paper. Who has the edge at each position? Who has the edge overall? Are these two teams done this offseason? We'll discuss all of that. Also, it is a Minors Monday, so we're going to look at some prospects that maybe you haven't heard of or maybe you just haven't seen yet. And we'll discuss those and if they could break out in 2024. Got some news of the day to discuss and a question or two as well at the end. Before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get your Jase case today at jasemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com. All right, maybe one of the biggest discussions, maybe not the biggest, but certainly one that's out there is, are the Dodgers a super team? All the moves they made this offseason, Ohtani, Yamamoto, they just signed another player in Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, they made a lot of moves this offseason, Tyler Glasnow. And a lot of people are upset that the Dodgers are building this super team. But you look at it on paper, and it's not that much better, if it is at all, than what the Braves already have. So I wanted to break it down on paper. And again, we're talking about on paper. That's all we can do in the offseason right now. Both of these teams are very, very good. They're likely to both, get to 100 wins or more in 2024. And they're both likely to lose to an 84-win wildcard team in the division series, because that's the way it seems to be going in this new playoff format. But all seriousness, these are two really, really good teams on paper. And we're going to go by position in today's episode. We're going to use FanGraphs steamer projections for WAR to go through it position by position. I know WAR is not the best stat out there to tell you the significance of each individual player, but it is the best metric that I can come up with in order to do this exercise. I'll obviously give you some of my thoughts as well for some of these that are super close. At the catcher position, I'm going to give the edge to the Dodgers. I'm going to give this one to the Dodgers, although I'm not completely sold on that. But you go by FanGraphs WAR, and Will Smith's projected for 4 WAR. Sean Murphy's projected for 3.2. So clearly, a little bit of an edge there. Some people, in my opinion, are sleeping on Sean Murphy because of the second half that he had, which I wrote an article about this back in November, I believe, over at BravesToday.com. The batted ball data was still there. He was struggling with sinkers a little bit, seeing a lot more sinkers in the second half, leading to more ground balls. Also think the injury that he had midseason kind of led to some of his struggles, not being able to play every day. I don't think helped him either. So a lot of factors, I believe, went into that second half that really hurt his season. But still, you look at it overall, and you look at the batted ball data, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Sean Murphy. I'm getting a little bit into fantasy baseball this offseason as I have no interest in anything else. I believe the national championship of the college football is going on right now, and I haven't even turned it on. Really didn't even think about it until I looked on Twitter. I'm into fantasy baseball, and I'm seeing Sean Murphy going later and later in drafts. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Sean Murphy and the type of season he could have. In the first half of last year, he was, by many people, considered the best catcher in all of baseball, and I think he gets back to that in 2024. Also, if you're going to add in Travis d'Arnaud's 1.3 WAR and Barnes projected 0.5 WAR, or whoever the backup's going to be for the Dodgers, this position's a little bit more of a push. So I give it to the Dodgers, but I'm not fully confident in that one. I'm going to give this one to the Dodgers at the catcher position. The first base position is truly a push. Both Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson are projected at 4.4 WAR for next season. So that's about as even as it can get. And honestly, those two are about as even as it can get. They do it in different ways. Freddie with a little bit more average, Matt Olson with a little bit more power, but both guys get it done. So that's a pretty even trade-off right there. We're going to give first base a push. Second base, Dodgers by a lot. Not looking good for the Braves so far. Give the edge to the Dodgers at catcher, push at first base, and the Dodgers at second base by a lot, although Braves do have a pretty good second baseman in their own right. But Mookie, now being their everyday second baseman, he's projected for 6.1 WAR in 2024. Ozzie projected for 3.9. So we're talking about a 4 WAR player here. It's not like the Braves have, a league average player at second base, but Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts, and the Dodgers get a pretty big edge in that one. At third base, it's Braves by a lot in this one. Riley projected for 4.5 WAR, Max Muncy for just 2.2. So while there's a big gap at second base in the Dodgers' favor, there's a big gap at third base in the Braves' favor. Now at shortstop, I'm giving this one to the Braves kind of by default because I don't really know what the Dodgers shortstop position is going to look like. I'm assuming that Gavin Lux is going to get the start, and if he does, then this one may go the way of the Dodgers. So Lux is projected for 1.8 WAR, while Arcia is 1.4 WAR. But again, not really sure who's going to be handling that shortstop position. Lux coming off a big injury. I don't know what he's going to look like. Miguel Rojas there as well, projected for just 0.6 WAR, but only in 58 games played. So this is another one, but might be a push. But I'm going to give the edge to the Braves just because shortstop position is a little bit more known for them, where I feel like it's still a little bit of a question mark for the Dodgers. In left field, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Dodgers in this one. Teoscar Hernandez, who the Dodgers just signed, he's projected for 1.7 WAR, and Jared Kelenic projected for 1 WAR. What's crazy to think about this, and we'll talk about this deal some later, you look at all the money the Braves took on in order to get Jared Kelenic, it's essentially the same amount of money that the Dodgers paid for Teoscar Hernandez. 1 year, $23.5 million. About the same amount of money the Braves took on in order to get Jared Kelenic, and they get him for 5 years, while the Dodgers are getting Teoscar Hernandez for 1 year. So pretty interesting there. Give the Dodgers a slight edge in left field with Teoscar, a little bit more of a proven commodity, although I said at the beginning of the offseason I was not all that interested in getting him because of his profile. Still a really solid bat. I'm going to give him the edge at this point because we haven't seen it from Kelenic yet, but it would not surprise me if Kelenic outpaces him in 2024. In center field, this one goes to the Braves by a pretty good amount. Michael Harris projected for 4.3 WAR. James Outman projected for 2 WAR. They also have Manuel Margot, who could be, get it some time in center field. Also might get some time in right field, where the Braves have a large margin in this one. It's Braves by a mile in right field. Acuna projected for 7.4 WAR. You got Hayward and Margot behind him, who could combine for 2 WAR possibly, but still Braves get the edge by a mile in right field. And then at DH, Dodgers by a pretty wide margin here. Ohtani projected for 4.3 WAR. Ozuna just 1.3. The projections aren't really buying the bounce back, although they still have him going for 30 home runs and a pretty solid average, but no stolen base threat for Ozuna. So still a solid season from him, but with Ohtani, he's an MVP candidate. So good margin there. Good win for the Dodgers in the DH spot. Starting pitching. This is the one that's probably going to surprise some people, but the edge actually goes to the Braves in starting pitching. Total WAR by their 5 combined starters, Strider, Fried, Sale, Morton, and Elder, is 14.6. Total combined WAR for the Dodgers starters, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Buehler, Bobby Miller, and Emmett Sheehan, is 12.8. So the Braves get a 2-point edge in WAR in starting pitching. A lot of that coming from Spencer Strider, who's projected for 4.9 wins. You also have Max Fried at 3.5, Sale at 2.8, Morton at 2.2, Elder at 1.2. On the Dodgers side, start with Glasnow, who's projected at 3.7, Yamamoto 3.4, Buehler 1.8, Bobby Miller 2.5, and Sheehan 1.4. So it's really kind of even there to Strider and Glasnow kind of matchup, Fried and Yamamoto matchup, Morton and Buehler matchup, Sale and Bobby Miller matchup, Elder and Sheehan matchup. So those are pretty even, but going based on WAR, Braves get the edge in this one. And as far as relievers go, this one might surprise some Braves fans as well, but this one is actually a push. Both of these bullpens, I took the top 6 arms in each bullpen, projected for 4 WAR. You got Minter, Iglesias, Johnson, Jimenez, Bummer, and Lopez for the Braves. Kelly, Ferguson, Phillips, Gratterall, Vesia, and Grove for the Dodgers. Both of those groups combined for 4 WAR. So this one's pretty even as well. Bullpen's kind of hard to judge and can be very futile as well. So can't put a lot of stock into that. But you total that up, the Braves have the edge at 5 positions. Dodgers have the edge at 4 positions, and 2 of them are a push. So again, just to kind of reiterate, because I see some people in the comments and people on social media talking about how the Braves need to do something to keep up with the Dodgers, how the Dodgers are far and away better. They made all these moves. They are not far and away better. And in fact, you look at it on paper, you can make a very strong case that the Braves, on paper at least, are still better and deeper than the Los Angeles Dodgers. The question is, though, are the Dodgers done? I mean, you very well could see them go out and get a Josh Hader, and that would give them the edge in relief pitching. You could see them, go out and make another move for an outfielder in right field, and that wouldn't give them the edge there, but it would certainly help them out overall. So Dodgers may not be done, but I just wanted to make the point that all the moves the Dodgers have done this offseason has been to keep up with the Braves. I mean, this Braves team is really good. Again, both these teams really good on paper, but games aren't played on paper. We know that, but that was a really fun exercise. Let me know if you agree, disagree on some of these. I see Joe Me saying the Braves better than the Dodgers already in the comment section. Let me know what you think. You look at these 2 teams on paper. Are they pretty even? Do you give the edge to the Braves or the Dodgers? Going to be a lot of talk about these 2 teams throughout the season as they figure to be 2 of the best, not just in the National League, but in all of baseball. All right, it is a Minors Monday. So next, I want to tell you about some unknown prospects that we're going to see in 2024 who could shoot up the rankings in the Braves system. We'll discuss those guys here next. Get into the action this NFL postseason with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, I keep telling you there's no better time than right now, maybe other than opening day. But right now, you got the NFL playoffs. I don't really watch the NFL regular season. I'll get in on some playoff action. That's going on right now. You got the NBA, NHL, you got college basketball going on as well. There's just so many sports happening at this moment. Just not the best sport of all, but there's a lot of action to get in on, and you can do so over at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Their app is so easy to use. Many different ways that you can bet, like live same game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, Mega Parlay in the Party Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and many more options. You got the wild card weekend coming up. Browns, Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, Lions, and Eagles are all favored as of right now going into the wild card weekend. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get in on all the action. Also, make sure you visit FanDuel.com/playsafe for tools and resources to help you stay in control of the way you play. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, I want to remind you again about how Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Getting into our Minors Monday episode here, I want to give you the name of some prospects that maybe a little bit unknown, or maybe just some we haven't seen yet, or in fact, all of these we haven't really seen yet or haven't seen yet in full season ball. And I'm really excited to see these guys in 2024. Hopefully we get to see them in full season ball. The first one here is Luis Guanipa, and this is probably a name that a lot of you are familiar with. He was the biggest international signing for the Braves in 2023 at $2.5 million, 5'11", 188 pounds, 18 years old, an outfielder. He's somebody that you look at some of the top prospect lists for the Braves, you may see him sneak into the top 10. I don't know that I'm going to put him in my top 10 yet, just because not able to get my eyes on him, and it's hard for me to rank somebody I haven't been able to see, at least on video. So he may not be in my top 10, but could be very soon after we get our eyes on him, as he has a lot of upside. 2023 at the DSL level, 46 games, /238, 361, 384, 11 doubles and 4 home runs, 23 walks to 42 strikeouts, and 20 stolen bases. So plenty of speed and power upside, and 11 doubles in there. That's really good in 46 games to go along with the 4 home runs, and again, those 20 stolen bases. So I think we're looking at potential, 2020 type of player. Needs to improve the plate discipline and start lifting the ball a little bit more. MLB Pipeline tabbed him as the Braves prospect primed to break out in 2024. So like I said, you may not see him on a lot of prospect rankings coming into 2024, but he's somebody, if he does get to debut in Single-A Augusta to start the year, and obviously has a good start to the season, he's somebody that at midseason rankings, you're probably going to see shoot up the rankings pretty quickly. Next on my list is Isaiah Drake, 5th round pick in 2023, 6 foot 180, outfielder as well, 18 years old. In 2023 at the FCL level, didn't get off to a good start. If you were here with me during the season, when I went through my minors Mondays, I mentioned him every week, and it was rough. 221, 312, 279 slash line, 8 walks to 29 strikeouts. It's what's really stands out there. Just the plate discipline, 9 stolen bases, has very good speed. He's really similar to Guanipa in the fact that he has a plus run tool. There's potential there for power if he can make more consistent contact. So again, another player with huge upside, has some loud tools. Just need to see him get better plate discipline and better contact, and we'll see what Isaiah Drake can do. Excited to see him in 2024. Next one here is Mario Baez, 5'9", 175 pounds, just 17 years old, a shortstop, signed in 2023 international class for just $240K. You got to watch out for some of those smaller signings in the international class. A lot of people focus on guys who get the big signings for good reason, but you got to watch out for some of those guys who get lesser money. 2023 at the DSL, 311, 393, 422 slash line, 7 doubles, 3 home runs, 20 walks to 25 strikeouts. So real good plate discipline there, and 24 stolen bases. He played the entire season at 16 years old. You don't want to put a lot of stock in DSL numbers, but you would rather see players put up good numbers. And when I look at DSL, FCL numbers, I'm mainly looking at the plate discipline. What is the walk to strikeout ratio? 20 walks to 25 strikeouts is really, really good. He might get another year at the DSL, but if he keeps performing like he did in Augusta, or maybe he gets his next year at the FCL, but if he keeps performing like he did last season, he could be pushing for Augusta in 2024. And I hope that he is, because I really want to get my eyes on him and see what he could be. With his size, he probably moves to second base, but he just turned 17. Kids could still be growing, but he has shown some pop with some good speed already. So obviously some great upside there. Diego Benitez, 6 foot 180, 19-year-old shortstop. He signed for $2.5 million in the 2022 international class, compared to Manny Machado when he was signed. So certainly came in with a lot of potential. 2023 at the FCL level, 46 games, /261, 332, 392, 11 doubles, 2 homers, 17 walks, 44 strikeouts. Not great, just 3 stolen bases as well. Big power potential, despite the underwhelming performance so far, just a 131 ISO last year's isolated power. So not great so far, but does have big power potential. Next one on here, Adam Mayer, 6 foot, 203 pound right-handed pitcher, 22 years old, a 7th round pick in 2022 out of Oregon, signed over slot for $1.2 million. And we have not seen him yet. So I am just excited to see what he can do. He chose to have internal bracing done on a UCL instead of Tommy John surgery to get back quicker. And yet we didn't see him at all in 2023. So that makes me a little bit nervous. We haven't heard anything about him, and I've reached out, tried to find out anything about him that I can, and there's just nothing out there. So I don't know what's going on with Adam Mayer. If you know, please hit me up. Would love to know where he's at, if he's throwing, anything about him, but hopefully we get to see him in 2024. When he was drafted, mid-90s fastball with some good spin rates, also a plus slider. Interested to see again what he looks like after not pitching for a while. How much do the Braves push him? Does he come back as a starter or reliever? And imagine he at least gets an opportunity to start, but they're probably going to limit his workload. So really just excited to see him get on a mound and what he can be for a guy that the Braves went well over slot for to sign in the 7th round in 2022. Two more here. First one is Douglas Glod, 5'9", 185-pound outfielder, 18 years old. He also got $2.5 million in the 2022 international class. 2023 at the FCL level, 47 games, hit 224, 386, so a good on base, 398 slug, 9 doubles, 5 home runs, 38 walks, 64 strikeouts. So bit of an odd profile, getting on base, taking his walk, so he has good plate discipline, but also 64 strikeouts. So a lot of strikeouts there for Glod at the FCL level, 6 stolen bases as well. Corner outfield bat with some pop, certainly those 5 home runs. You know, the 398 slug, not terrible for his age at that level, and good plate discipline with the walks. But again, got to cut down on those strikeouts. But if he's going to be somebody that hits 25 to 30 home runs and, you know, has a 10% or more walk rate, you can live with the strikeouts a little bit, especially if he gives you some speed. So certainly some things to dream on there with Douglas Glod. And then lastly, a bit of surprising one, John Gill, 6'1", 175-pound shortstop, 17 years old. He signed for just $110K last year out of the Dominican Republic. His numbers in 2023 at the DSL level, he slashed 285, 409, 386 in 48 games, 9 doubles, 1 home run, 33 walks to 34 strikeouts, and 20 stolen bases, just 3 caught stealing. So really good on the base pass. Played every position, infield position, I should say, at the DSL level. So showing his versatility, good plate discipline, like I said, with those 33 walks to just 34 strikeouts, good speed, like I said, with the 20 stolen bases and just 3 times caught stealing. He might be a little bit of a sleeper one to watch. So those are the names of a few guys, or several guys rather, that we could see in 2024, hopefully in full season ball, and some guys who could shoot up the Braves prospect rankings, guys that probably aren't going to be in my top 10, and guys that I really can't evaluate right now because I don't have video on them, but I'm excited to see them in 2024. This Braves system is not bare. There are some names in here, some players in here that could be really, really good, and the Braves have done a great job developing both hitters and pitchers here recently. So looking forward to see these guys in 2024. Next, we got a little bit of news to discuss and a question that I need to answer about a trade possibility for the Braves to find that right-handed outfield bat. We'll discuss that here next. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk for just a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is pretty scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling if my wife or one of my kids got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us, and I feel much more protected now that we got our Jase case, which was so easy to go through the process of ordering that. So make sure that you get yours as well. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. That's jasemedical.com and use our code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Want to remind you again that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. What are you waiting for? Go over there. Subscribe. You're doing a great job over there. All right, let's get into the news of the day. Dodgers, kind of already talked about this earlier, signed Teoscar Hernandez to a 1-year, $23.5 million deal. And according to Jeff Passan, they deferred $8.5 million of this. I thought it was a troll job at first. I thought, no way, they're deferring money on a 1-year deal. But I think he's being serious, and that money is being deferred. Rolled my eye emoji, whatever you want to say to that. But Dodgers get Teoscar Hernandez on a 1-year, $23.5 million deal. Other news over the weekend, Mets signed Sean Manaea to a 2-year deal. So a good move for the Mets here. I mean, they're putting together a pretty sneaky rotation. I don't think it's going to be anything great, but they're certainly looking at some bounce back candidates. They got Sean Manaea. They already have Severino as well. So they got some veteran guys looking to bounce back, reestablish themselves. If it works out for the Mets, great. Hoping it does not. But I do like the Sean Manaea move. I think that's a pretty solid move there for the Mets. Had a couple people ask me same question on Twitter, so I wanted to answer it here. Manuel Gonzalez and Alex R. both said the Rays are shopping Harold Ramirez. Can play left field, kills lefties, has 2 years of control, and is set to make just $4 million in 2024. So looking at Harold Ramirez for the Rays, 1.8 WAR player last year in 122 games, /313, 353, 460 with 12 home runs, 5 stolen bases, just a 5.1% walk rate, but just an 18% strikeout rate. He hit 300 in 2022 as well, and he hit 268 or better every year, not counting 2020 when he had just 3 games played. So the batting average is no fluke. Now, that did come with a BABIP of 350, so maybe he is more of a 270-ish, 280-ish player, but still, that's really, really good batting average. It's a weird profile when you look at it. He chases a ton, he whiffs a ton, but he doesn't strike out a lot, and he doesn't walk a lot. It's basically he goes up there looking to swing the bat, and more times than not, puts the bat on the ball, and that's why he has such a high BABIP, because he typically does put the bat on the ball. When you do that enough, you're going to get some cheap hits. See, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, and all the Mets players. That's going to happen when you put the ball in play. And so that's how Harold Ramirez gets that high batting average. Looking at what he does against lefties, he does crush lefties. A 966 OPS against lefties last year in 119 at-bats. And in his career versus lefties, he is slashing 323, 363, 453 with a 129 WRC plus. So he does indeed crush lefties. Now, looking at some of the downside of this, his defense is a negative run value in the outfield. So would be a pretty tough bat for the outfield. But if you're just going to use him in a platoon, maybe you use him off the bench against a lefty, I think that's fine. Now, here's what it comes down to. What are you giving up for a Harold Ramirez? Are you giving up a Dylan Dodd for that? I would. Are you giving up a Owen Murphy for that? Probably not. So what is the price, obviously, in all of these deals? Can you get something comparable on the free agent market for a similar price and not give up any prospects? Maybe. Kevin Pillar, we've talked about. I don't know if he's done playing. You could probably get him on a minor league deal. We've mentioned some other names out there. Michael A. Taylor, possibility. I don't know if you get him for $4 million for a couple of years. So again, I don't know that there's anything out there on the free agent market you can get for that cheap. The prices right now in free agency, I just don't understand. But I do think that's what Alex Anthopoulos has to weigh, and he obviously knows right now what the cost is for those guys in free agency and what it would take to get somebody like Harold Ramirez. So I wouldn't hate it, again, especially with those numbers against lefties and his ability to put the bat on the ball. I certainly love that as well. In that profile coming off the bench against a tough lefty, you need somebody just to put the ball in play. He can do that for you. So I don't hate it. Again, depends on obviously what you would have to give up. I wouldn't be willing to give up a ton for that if you can get something similar on the free agent market and just give up money. But another option for the Braves is they continue to look for that right-handed bat who can play in the outfield. Maybe not play it well, but at least you can put him out there. Travis Orton says, what about Aaron Hicks as backup outfielder? Yankees are paying his 2024 salary, so the Braves would only owe him the minimum /349, 446, 524, and 74 plate appearances against lefties last year, and 253, 334, 424 in his career. That's a good one as well. I know he went over to the Orioles, had a really good year for them over there. So wouldn't hate it. Again, obviously depends on the price, but that's not somebody I had thought of. A switch hitter as well. And Aaron Hicks can play, multiple outfield positions. So that's another good candidate, I think. Good job calling that out there, Travis. I think Aaron Hicks makes a lot of sense. Eric Hinkie asked, will you be talking about the 2024 international signing soon? So yes, next Monday is when you can officially sign these players. So next Monday night, we'll be talking about all the international signings that the Braves make. Obviously, they're expected to sign one of the top prospects in this international class in Perdomo. I will go ahead and warn you, I'm not going to go into much detail at all on a lot of these international prospects. You just can't when we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-olds, but we will definitely discuss that class next Monday once these signings become official. All right, that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining us, whether live or watching the replay. Thank you so much for your support of Locked On Braves. Let me know down in the comments section. Do you think the Braves are better on paper? Do you think the Dodgers are way better than the Braves right now? What do you think about some of these unknown prospects in 2024? Who are you excited to see? And do you like Harold Ramirez or Aaron Hicks as a possible bat for the Braves, outfield bat for the Braves? Let me know down in the comment section below. I try to get to all of those there. All right, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast as well. Follow us on social media at @ShortstopBall, at @LockedOn_Braves, and we will talk to you next time.